So the first start we're going to talk about today is Justin Herbert. Herbert's going to be taking on the Falcons this week, who's actually giving up the 4th most points per game to opposing quarterbacks. Justin Herbert should come into this matchup throwing the ball all over this Falcons defense. Now, he will probably be without Mike Williams, but he's still going to have Keenan Allen and Gerald Everett to throw to. He should be throwing all over in this game. Austin Eckler's definitely going to get his, but Justin Herbert should have quite a good fantasy output against the Falcons. Start Justin Herbert. Now, the next start I'm going to talk about is, believe it or not, Justin Fields. Justin Fields have been playing out of his mind the last 3 weeks. This week, he's taking on the Dolphins, who's actually giving up the 7th most fantasy points per game to opposing quarterbacks. Like I said, the last 3 weeks have been absolutely stellar for Fields. He started off the year, it was really bad, but he's actually picking it up. He's starting to use his legs more instead of his arm. He may get 150 to 170 yards passing through the air, but he's also getting a lot of yards on the rushing yards, so it could be giving you a nice, safe floor. The only question we do have to ask ourselves is, could this be the start of something special? Jump on it early. He should be a good start this week against the Dolphins. The next start at quarterback we're going to talk about is Tua Tagovailoa. Tua has been playing ridiculous, and really, who can blame him? I mean, if you had Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle to throw to, you'd probably be throwing us for some nasty yards too. This dude has all the tools of the trade to be a great fantasy quarterback, and I would definitely start him this week against the Bears. I mean, he's putting up amazing numbers week in and week out, including last week, 383 yards and 3 touchdowns. This guy is something special. He should be able to throw over this Bears defense. They should be able to pull away with this win this week. Definitely start Tua in your lineups. Now let's go ahead and move over to the running back position. And the first running back I'm going to tell you guys to start is Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones will be going up against the Lions this week, who's giving up the 5th most points to opposing running backs. This should be a really good game for Aaron Jones, as I see the Packers probably winning this definitely handily. He could have a ceiling game this week, having a positive game script. I would see most of the game. They're going to be handing off to Jones early and often. He should be able to rack up some nice points to you. He's coming off of a season high 143 yards last week, and I think he carries this into this week against the Lions. Now, the next start I'm going to talk about is RAHEEM MOSTERT. RAHEEM MOSTERT is now the main running back now that Chase Edmonds is out of town. It's 100% Mostert's job. This week, going against the Bears, who average giving up the 8th most fantasy points per game to opposing running backs. I think RAHEEM MOSTERT is going to be able to prove himself against this team. I think there's going to be a lot of passing downs, but eventually against the Bears, I'm just going to say they're probably going to be in a positive game script. Mostert should be able to get a lot of carries, a lot of yards on the ground. As long as he can prove it, he's going to be the main guy. I mean, Tony Pollard ran all over this defense last week. I think RAHEEM MOSTERT may be able to get close to that 100-yard mark this week. Definitely start RAHEEM MOSTERT in week 9. Now, Cordell Patterson is going to be my next start. He's going against the Chargers, who's allowing the 2nd most fantasy points per game to opposing running backs. And I know he's been on IR. A lot of people are out there. I see that they're trying to start Tyler Algier, but I don't think Tyler Algier is going to be there, being the main guy, because I see Cordell Patterson coming off of IR this week. I think he was back at practice on Wednesday. I think he has a good opportunity of playing, and if he does, he is going to resume as that RB1. He's going to be the main guy going up against the Chargers team. Like I said, they're giving up the 2nd most points to fantasy running backs, and Patterson should be able to do that. He's a do-it-all type of guy. He runs, he catches the ball, he does a lot of stuff, and they're going to need Cordell Patterson to do well if they have a chance in this game. I would say if Cordell Patterson is off your IR, start Cordell Patterson this week. Now let's go ahead and move it over to the wide receivers. The first wide receiver I'm going to tell you to start is Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd's going to be taking on the Panthers this week, who's giving up the 11th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers this week, or should I say this season. Now, with Jamar Chase out, Tyler Boyd does have an opportunity to step up to be that wide receiver too. He's not just going to be playing in the slot anymore. He's going to be one of the main receivers that Joe Burrow is going to be throwing it to. He should have a very, very solid and strong fantasy day this week. Look for Tyler Boyd to put into your lineups this week. Now, the next wide receiver we're going to talk about is Chris Olave. Chris Olave is going to be going up against the Ravens defense, who's actually giving up the 4th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. He sees plenty of targets in the air. He actually is one of the top guys in air yards in the season, so the odds are he's going to be able to see a big play against this Ravens defense. The Saints will probably be down for most of the game. Look for Olave to get heavily involved in the game plan. And like I said, if he can pop off a big play for you, you got a solid player here in Olave. Definitely put Olave in your lineups. The last start at wide receiver I'm going to talk about is Juju Smith-Schuster. Smith-Schuster should be going up against the Titans this week, who's given up the 6th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers so far. Kadarius Toney did come over into a trade, but I think he's going to still need to learn the playbook. He's not going to be the main catcher right now, so I think we should be leaning on Smith-Schuster. The Titans have been struggling to even stop the wide receiver for the most part of this season. Patrick Mahomes coming to town, they're going to be throwing it all over the field. I think Juju Smith-Schuster has an opportunity to give you some really good yards and really good fantasy points this week. Put Smith-Schuster in your lineups. Now, let's go over the tight ends here. And the first tight end that I'm going to talk about is Noah Fant. Noah Fant is going to be going up against the Cardinals, who's given up the 2nd most points per game to the tight end position. He may share the workload with Will Disley, but this matchup is just too good to pass up. Noah Fant, he's going to get the work. He might get 4 or 5 targets, but they could have really solid targets. I mean, it should be a back and forth type of game. Noah Fant should have the opportunities to make some type of splash for your fantasy team this week. Start Fant in your lineups. The next person I'm going to talk about, I'm going to go ahead and go to the other side. Let's go ahead and go with Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz is going against the Seahawks, who's allowing the 10th most fantasy points per game to opposing tight ends. Hopkins came back, and he really didn't eat into Ertz's target share or his production. Like I said before, this is going to be a back and forth game. I think Kyler Murray is going to be looking up to Ertz to have some solid targets. You should be fine whether or not you start Noah Fant or start Zach Ertz. They're both good tight ends for this week. Get them in your lineups. Now, the last tight end I'm going to talk about this for the start is going to be Gerald Everett. Gerald Everett should be going against the Falcons, who's giving up the 4th most points to opposing tight ends. Mike Williams, like I said earlier, will be sidelined. He should see plenty of volume with him and Keenan Allen. They're going to be throwing the ball quite a bit, and I think he is going to be a really good tight end. If you can fit him into your lineup, he's probably going to be better than most that you can find so far. Start Gerald Everett. Now on to the Bengal Tigers starts of the week. The first Bengal Tiger start of the week, we're going to go at quarterback here, and we're going to look at Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is going up against the Lions, who's giving up the 2nd most points to fantasy quarterbacks. And I'm telling you right now, Rodgers is tired of hearing that you're washed up type of narrative. He's going to be out there wanting to show up, show out, and put up as many fantasy points as he can. The Lions defense almost seems like they're giving up. They traded away TJ Hawkinson. I don't even know if they really want to win anymore. Aaron Rodgers is definitely wanting to win. This should be a bloodbath. Start Aaron Rodgers. You're going to be great to have this guy on your team. He has an amazing matchup. Start Aaron Rodgers. He is definitely the Bengal Tiger start of the week at the quarterback position. Now we're going to move over to the running back position and look at the Bengal Tiger start of the week. And we're going to talk about Miles Sanders. Sanders is going up against the Texans defense, who's actually giving up the most fantasy points to opposing running backs this season. The Eagles should dominate the Texans, which is definitely going to put the Eagles into a positive game script, which is beautiful for Sanders. Sanders has been running actually really well so far this season. I think he's going to have plenty of opportunities to put up tons of fantasy points for your team. If you have Miles Sanders, definitely slot him into your lineup. He is the running back Bengal Tiger start of the week. Now we're going to go over to the other Bengal Tiger start of the week at the wide receiver position. We're going to talk about Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen, I know he's been on IR. He's been out for a lot of the year, but now he gets a chance to go up against the Falcons. He's definitely the clear #1 target for this offense. They're allowing the most points to opposing fantasy wide receivers this season. I mean, what else can I say? Mike Williams is out. He is the focal target. I mean, they're going against the Falcons defense, who they're going to be able to exploit. Put Keenan Allen into your lineup. You're going to be excited you did. He's definitely my wide receiver Bengal Tiger start of the week. Now, the last Bengal Tiger start of the week, let's go over to the tight end position. And I'm going to say Evan Engram. Evan Engram is going against the Raiders defense, who's allowing the 3rd most points to fantasy tight ends this season. And he's just really become a consistent tight end. It was really slow early on in the season. I think he's starting to pick up, build that rapport with Trevor Lawrence, and you're really starting to see that. He should be able to get into the end zone yet again against this Raiders defense. They're really not stopping many tight ends out there. I think Evan Engram is a perfect tight end for your fantasy roster. this week.